As a working mum, I am trying to create a more slower approach to our lives, create a life and career and home environment and relationship with food that helps facilitate my nervous system regulation and embraces some of these slow living principles. But how do you do it? How do I do it? As a working mum, 3 little kids, 2 jobs, here are some of my top tips.
Oh, do you like it there, Rainbow?
So, what does slow living look like as a working mum? How do I regulate my nervous system? How do I signal safety to the brain so that my hormones and my gut and my neurotransmitters and my general joy for life can be balanced? I'm going to share a couple of the key foundational things that I've learned and am learning because I'm still figuring this out. My brain really wants to go fast. It really wants to cultivate drama and stress. And so this is something I'm learning. And slow living, especially around food and how we regulate our nervous system, has been really helpful. So this is how, as I was working mom, I do 2 jobs. I do my own business and clinics. I work for a mental health charity. And then obviously I parent my really cute kids. How do I introduce and begin to create a slower approach? So maybe one of the most annoying things that I'm going to say that you've probably heard is about having a morning routine, a morning intention, schedule, something. Now, I'm naturally a morning person. I always have been, and I have always, since I was a teenager, had a morning routine. I need it for my mental health, but whether it's just 5 minutes, like I talk to my clients about, 10 minutes, half an hour, 2 minutes, a morning routine isn't important just for the sake of having it. It's important to help you to regulate and calm your nervous system in the morning. For me, slow living starts first in my brain, not in the things I buy or don't buy, or the stuff I have in my house, or how decluttered my house is. That's a part of it, and I love decluttering. But it first starts with my mind. I can do the performance of slow living and I could make it look like here on YouTube that I'm just so into it. But if my mind is racing and a chaotic place to be, all of that stuff is pointless. So for me, a morning routine looks like getting up before my kids, involves meditation, involves yoga, but yours doesn't have to involve those things. I literally had somebody today who was thinking of working with me being like, "You're not going to make me do yoga, are you?" And I'm like, no, no, no. You don't have to do yoga. You don't have to do specific things. It's more about the state. Are you setting an intention for your morning? Are you regulating your nervous system? It's really impossible. Well, actually, no, that's not true. It's possible to, on the surface, have slow living. Hashtag sustainable, hashtag healthy, hashtag, slow living, homesteading, whatever it is, and not be living that in the reality or in the state of your mind. So for me, it needs to start first with my mind, not in the aesthetic, not in all the fanciness of YouTube. It needs to start first in my brain. Now, the other probably very unsurprising thing that I use to help with slow living is food. Convenience food, processed food is fast. Whole, real food takes more time. Now, as a working parent, I'm not interested in spending hours a day cooking. But even this breakfast, that porridge for my kids, taking the time to put linseeds in, to put cacao in, to put all of these other nourishing things in, it takes a bit of time and a bit of thought. And that's where, for me, it's a really helpful anchor that food is this really helpful rhythm. We eat so regularly, and having the value and having the desire and the strategy of eating whole, nourishing food, of realizing food is medicine, it forces a slower rhythm. I don't want to eat just a cereal box and empty it into a bowl for myself. That doesn't make me feel good. It actually creates a very unproductive day for me. So if I can slow down enough to make really nourishing food for me and for my kids and for my family, that can be a really helpful anchor through the day. I think a lot of some of what I can see online is there's a lot of aesthetic and a lot of different things going on with slow living, and a lot of people are missing the food element. I think if you can slow down your actual eating in terms of chewing, which I am terrible at, but I'm trying to get better at, but also looking at, okay, I'm gonna make pizza. I'm gonna make some porridge. How could I slow down some aspects of food? Even just a little bit can be really helpful. And I don't mean spend hours. Like, honestly, I'm not wanting to spend hours and hours doing this, but food can be a really helpful reminder to slow down and nourish yourself, especially as the mum. Another thing I found really helpful when it comes to slowing down and really just supporting my overall health is being really mindful of caffeine, especially from coffee. As a working mum, if I'm wanting to slow down my brain and my pace of life, adding tons of adrenaline and cortisol inducing liquids to my body and my brain definitely doesn't facilitate that. So this is something I'm always working on because I do love the ritual of coffee. I love the taste of coffee. I used to manage a coffee shop, FYI, many years ago. So this is always a bit of a balance. But at the moment, my coffee machine has decaf beans in it because I just realized, okay, if I want to slow my life down, I need to slow my brain down. Another thing that I find really helpful that I've talked about a lot with clients and noticing myself, another way to really help the process of slowing down is to really honor your bodily cues. Now, this might sound like the most obvious thing, but you would be surprised at how many clients I speak to that put off going to the toilet, that don't have a poo every day or that second poo every day because they're just too busy, stuff's going on, they don't, air quotes, have time. They don't eat because they don't feel like they have time. They don't drink water because they don't feel like they have time. They don't make rice from scratch because they don't feel like they have time. All of these things. I think if you can just go back to, am I hungry? Do I need a wee? Do I need a poo? Do I need to rest for 1 minute? Most of the time, we do have 30 seconds to a minute. And even in the research shows that even taking something like 6 to 8 breaths is enough to shift your nervous system. That's all. So sometimes especially if you've got this really caffeinated brain, you haven't started your day properly, and I say this all from experience because I know how this feels. If I've not started my day properly, I've not set an intention, I've over-caffeinated my brain, I've eaten processed foods for breakfast, then I don't think I have time. My brain is working too fast and I forget and I lie to myself that I don't have 30 seconds. But I always have time for 2 breaths. I always have time to just take a couple of seconds. Even if I'm going from meeting, from client to client to client, I can take a breath. I have time to go to the toilet. I can make time to go and pee. I can make time to take a drink of water. And I think honoring your bodily signals and your bodily cues can be a really helpful way, especially if you feel like you've gone really far off. You're almost at that burnout, frazzled, wired, tired, and you're feeling really overwhelmed at where to even begin with your health or with slowing down or with supporting your nervous system. Listening to your bodily signals, your bodily cues, and honoring them sounds really simple, but can be really effective. Also, while I'm not going to go into it in detail, a big reason I can do any of this is because of the type of work that I have created and worked really hard to create a job and a career that is flexible, where I work from home and can also provide for my family. So that's worth noting. That is a privilege. That is something I've created. That's something I've been super intentional about establishing in my life. So I'm not going to go into that in too much detail here, but if you'd like to know more about the nuts and bolts of how and what I do, then just put a thumbs up in the comments and I could do another video on that. For dinner, you mean? Yeah. We've got like that sausage casserole, that red sausage casserole with the big sausage in. We've got that and some bread. Why not that? Yeah. I think we should put it here. Oh, hi. Or in the strawberries over there. Do you want to put it there or in here? This one? Okay. So pass it here. Might keep the birds away from some of the... There's one tiny strawberry that's not ready yet, but the birds keep eating it. Oh, I'm going to pick... Let me take the label off. Oh, do you like it there, Rainbow? Yeah. Very nice. The next thing I am constantly learning is that I just can't do it all. This is something that I often grapple with, but is probably something that makes me the most overwhelmed. So when it comes to slow living, when it comes to just being a human in this world, it's really easy, or I get really easily overwhelmed by all the things I would love to see better, and love to improve. You know, there's stuff happening internationally, there's stuff with climate, there's food, there's plastic waste, there's my own kids, there's parenting them and trying to learn new techniques to support them individually. There is so many things that I could get very easily overwhelmed with thinking I need to do. Even here, look, there's that plastic around the onion. I'm using also pre-chopped onions wrapped in plastic. That olive oil isn't organic. It could be organic. It is cold pressed. You know, there's so many things. Right now I'm making a chorizo and bean stew because the week I'm recording this and this day of eating is when we're really on a budget with our food. But ideally, chorizo has loads of nitrates in it. It's not the best quality meat. It's a processed meat. That's not something I want to be eating. Do you see how this can go on and on and on and on in terms of our own brains? And so something that I've learned, again, if slow living really isn't an aesthetic and it's not the way that you set up your home, or if you choose to be air quotes working parent or someone who works full time in the home, it's actually about the state of your brain, then this is a really important part. It would be very easy for me just to have my mind whirling around and put so much pressure on myself to create healthy meals, to reduce our plastic waste to basically nothing, to also participate in social change and activism, to also do parenting research, to also do my 2 jobs that I also get paid for and provides for my family, to also think about the community, to also participate in the kids' PTA, to whereas actually what I've learned, if slow living is really about my mind and my food, and really that's how I prioritize it currently at this stage in life. It doesn't mean other things aren't important, but if they're about my mind and my food, and I would say a little bit my external environment, I'm a fine artist by trade. My environment, the aesthetic that I'm in, does matter to me. It does. But if my main focus is on sorting out how to create more space in my brain and sorting out how to create more spaciousness and slowness around food so that I'm using it as medicine and real nourishment, that means I need to let some stuff go. Like, for example, there's far more single-use plastic waste in my house than I would like. And I did get to the point before I had 3 kids in 2 years where I'd really reduced that. And I have had to intentionally let that go and take that pressure off. Does that sometimes make me sad? Yes. Yeah, it does. It really does. But I can't do everything at once, especially if I want to have a slower, more intentional approach and a more regulated and slower nervous system. I really can't. And that is quite an uncomfortable part of slow living and quite an uncomfortable part of some of the lessons that I've been learning. But it's one of the realest parts. As a working parent with 2 jobs, 3 little kids, and I had those kids, all 3 kids within 2 years, I've had to let go intentionally and mindfully let go of things that genuinely are important to me and get really ruthlessly strategic about the things that are most important to me and also the things that are going to have the biggest impact on the rest of my life. And so for me, my own brain And my own nervous system regulation is one of those things. And my own food, my own health, my own well being, using food as medicine, having balanced hormones, healthy neurotransmitters, healthy gut health, steady, solid energy, energy to spare. Those things I realized in this season as a working parent are my most precious resources. It's my own energy, my own mental health, my own health overall that are actually the most strategic resources to invest in. And actually, there's certain things that I really care about that I need to let go of. So I think slow living, it's easy for it to look like this all perfect thing. And actually, I think it's actually more about being really strategic with what helps you the most. So, those are some of my thoughts. I am still very much in the process of learning how to slow down my mind and my life. I feel like as my kids get older, it'll just get more frantic, more clubs. But for me, food has been such a good gateway in. Even this is my veg box arriving. When this arrives every week or every 2 weeks, it's just so grounding. Look, it's a beetroot from local soil, sweet corn, potatoes. Yes, they take more scrubbing, they take a bit more time. But for me, I found food to be a really helpful entryway in. And remember, I think when it comes to slow living, what, in my opinion, we're looking at is radically creating a life that supports our nervous system and our biology. And when we do that, actually, it's going to have such an immense effect on your hormones, on your neurotransmitters, on your gut health, on your body composition, on your joy and delight. Okay? So, this isn't necessarily about a trend. This is about you being well fed and radiant and whole well.